Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Our next guest says, make 2025 the year you get your life and your house in order. He joins us with a look inside his brand new book, Tidy Up Your Life, Rethinking How You Organize, Declutter, and Make Space for What Matters Most. We welcome back the Tidy Dad, Tyler Moore. It's nice to see you. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Hannah. It's nothing like reporting from my bedroom, but I'm so excited to be here to talk about my book.
Let's go back in time because I imagine you weren't always the tidy dad, right? How did you make this commitment in your life to kind of declutter everything?
Yeah, so I think one, my wife and I and our three daughters, we live in a 750 square foot apartment in New York City, and we really love where we live. We love our community. I'm also a teacher by day. I'm at the same school as my three daughters, so we walk our 6 blocks to school each way together. And so I feel like decluttering has become part of our life because of where we live, what we love to do. And so as we've been able to edit and simplify certain categories of our life, we've been able to make space for other growth and for other things to come in.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. You kind of make certain sacrifices in different areas because things like your school and your work-life balance are so wonderful. You have some great tips for us to maybe begin with processing some overwhelming tasks, the things that we put off because they just seem like too much to tackle.
Yeah, so often we're confronted with these messes that are both, physical, but sometimes also mental and emotional. And so sometimes things can feel so overwhelming, but you have to really start small and think about how you can make sense of the mess. And so one of the things that I talk about is my 4-step decluttering process, which is this idea of clearing, then sorting, then assessing what you want to keep versus what you want to move out before you make a plan for what you want to do. Because I feel like so often we can feel like motivated and excited and we want to go straight to the plan, but we actually haven't dealt with the mess or all of those things that need to be dealt with at first. So in this new year, I do think it's really important that you sit with the mess first and don't just jump straight to that plan, but make sense of that mess and start to pull it apart.
Well, and a lot of us are dealing with very messy homes right now. Post-holidays, our kids are very blessed with lots of gifts. Do we have a photo that we can show of maybe a playroom scenario that we can relate to here? Oh, look how gorgeous this looks.
No, but also with that playroom, decluttering with our children, it is something that has become sort of a normal part of life. One thing that's important to note for people who are watching now is that the holidays are a time where life happens and messes happen, but I do feel like that's when tidying can step in because our goal isn't a perfectly tidied home. That's not realistic or practical, but it's when we start to break apart the process of organizing and tidying and also think about how we can make decluttering sort of something that's part of our normal yearly rhythm that can help with some of the overwhelm that you feel when you see that huge mess and then you're suddenly like everything has to go, because that's not really realistic. You can't get rid of everything all at once.
Right. How do you kind of chip away at that and arrive at like that gorgeous playroom that you have? That's the after, that's the goal.
Yeah.
It can be so hard to go down that path though.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things that I think is helpful is when you think about decluttering as a cycle, one of the things that we've adopted for our family is this idea of a decluttering calendar, where we're able to pinpoint what are the things that we're going to declutter each month of the year, because what we're trying to do is declutter items and get them to the people who will need them at the time when they need them. So for example, winter coats, people are all putting them on now, they're bundling things up, but oftentimes people are trying to declutter in March or April their winter gear, but nobody's looking for those things then. So if you do that in the fall when people are actually sort of like shopping for new things, it's much more likely that you're actually going to get those things out into the hands of people who need them.
Well, and it's a great lesson too to pass along to our kids, right? I have that same thought of it's tough to let go of things sometimes, but you can have that message of somebody needs this more than we do right now, and you don't wear this or use this or play with this anymore anyway.
Yeah, and I think that, particularly with kids, I feel like clothing is such an approachable way to talk with them about decluttering that it's very easy for you to open up your kid's pajama drawer and talk to them about, once you've cleared it, it's like start to sort it into piles between the summer pajamas or the winter pajamas, but then actually ask them what their favorite pajamas are. What are the prints that they like? What are the fabrics that they like? And then choose those ones that they want to keep versus the ones that they want to move out. And I feel like with kids, when you start small with something that's very low stakes like pajamas, you can then gradually move on to the like toy car collection or the baby doll collection or the Barbies. Those are items that actually feel sentimental to kids. So you've got to start with much lower stakes items.
That's a great place to start and can make a really big impact. And oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about the laundry of it all. If I could clear out some PJs, that would help a lot. You
Yeah,
have
and
a
I
great,
feel like
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I just feel like it's one of those things. It's a great way to involve your kids, and it's something that they can name pretty quickly what they want to keep versus what they want to move out. And it can help feel them, make them feel successful, but also that they have a little bit of control and choice.
Yeah, it's nice to work together on those things whenever you can. What about a one area a weekday cleaning schedule? That sounds like something that would be super helpful, but maybe tough to implement if your kiddos aren't used to that all the time.
Yeah, that cleaning routine, it's funny because it's one of the things that I first talked about years ago on KATU TV long before I wrote my book. But the one area a day cleaning schedule, what it can do is it can help you take an overwhelming task like deep cleaning your house and make it much more manageable by dividing tasks across the days of the week. Because as I like to joke, like if you can do anything for a sustained period of time as a parent, the likelihood of you spending hours deeply cleaning is probably way down at the bottom of that priority list. And so I feel like it's a way for you to train yourself on those overwhelming tasks and just try to make it a bit more manageable.
Well, and I like how you mentioned earlier that the goal is not perfection. Like you mentioned, the goal is not always tidy, but easily tidied, where if there's just a couple things here and there, we can get to that versus it looks like a tornado came through here and how am I ever going to manage this?
Yeah, and I think that the foundation of that is, that cyclical sort of practice of decluttering and choosing what to keep versus what to move out and having that, sort of rhythm around editing. But also when you have the organization systems in place, when you're clear on where things should be placed back, it's so much easier to tidy at the end of the night. A perfectly tidy home is not something that is it's not realistic, especially when you have kids at home. And so that idea of not always tidied, but easily tidied is just something that when we're feeling personally overwhelmed, we can remind ourselves and it helps to calm us and recenter us. Then we set that timer and get to work putting things away.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to approach it. You also have this definition of just enough and kind of figuring out what that means for you and your family because everybody might have a different idea of that.
100%. And it's like, if you are avid runners, if you love going camping, if you love going skiing, then you need to make space to have those things in your life. And what it might mean is that you have to edit or say no to other things that aren't of value or important. You can't upsize everything. We don't have an infinite amount of square footage or storage space, and really, nor should we. But when you have that personal definition of just enough, it can help to quiet that internal desire for more. It can also help you not compare yourself to all of the Joneses, because who actually are the Joneses anyway? Where it's so easy for us to get into those comparison traps. But when you can say, like, no, we have just enough. We have just enough toys right now. We have just enough, sort of gear for our hobbies that can then help you make space for other things that are really important.
Oh, for sure. Okay, I want to ask you about something really fun that you got to do over the holidays because we saw photos of you in the Macys Thanksgiving Day Parade. Oh my gosh, how great was that?
Yeah, it was one of those moments that you always wonder, like, is it going to live up to expectations? And it absolutely did and surpassed it. And my like tidy dad sort of brain, when I walked in and saw the logistical operation and all of the perfectly organized rows of costumes and where you get your little things to put over your shoes and your gloves, like it was an operation unlike anything I had ever seen. So even the organized side of me was so happy to see just all of the volunteers together. But that was a moment that I will cherish forever. It was amazing.
That is so awesome. I love hearing that. Happy New Year and congratulations on the book. It was so nice to see you.
Same to you. Same to you.
All right, Tyler's book again is Tidy Up Your Life. We'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.